Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, May the 9th, 2025. We are approaching Mother's Day, and we got some good stuff, some good conversation we want to
Oh,
bring.
yeah.
I am Keisha. I'm one half of the host of the Regal Mindset podcast show. And Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I am Joy, the coach. I am your millionaire, your mystic, your mindset transformer, and I am glad to be here today.
Hey, listen. Like I said, this is the Friday before Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
And for those who still have their mothers here, or mother figures in your life, we want to first say Happy Mother's Day to you all, in whatever form you find yourself, whether you are a seahorse parent or yeah, parent. Whether you are mother, stepmother, godmother, whatever facet you are or fall into, Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. And, even though for those who have lost their parent, we still celebrate them.
Yeah.
Even though we understand, well, some people understand that some people think death is permanent, some people don't. But we celebrate those parents that we've had in our life, those mother figures, those grandmothers, godmothers, everyone that has filled that space as a mother. So we celebrate you all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me find my little okay, there I go. I apologize. So if you can't tell, we are well, I am remote today. I had to do a little traveling with my wife. She decided something to make some changes kind of last minute. So, but nevertheless, we were excited, or at least I'm excited, definitely to have this conversation with you guys. So tonight's subject is I forgot she was just a girl.
Mm, that is
I
so good.
forgot.
That
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah. So and so the story behind that, and we have a video that we're going to share with you as well. The story behind that is oftentimes, or I'm going to speak for myself, right? Oftentimes we forget that our parents, our mothers, our fathers, were
Hmm.
just kids. Most of us, not I
Yeah.
can't speak for everybody. We're just kids when they had us, right? They were just a
Right.
girl,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
So there's a lot of things that, and again, I'm speaking for myself, that my mother was not necessarily equipped with.
Hmm.
She did not necessarily have the education level. She certainly did not have the finances to be able to provide for myself, being the oldest, and then later on my
Hmm.
brother. But she did the best that she could do with the tools that she had.
Right.
And I
Right.
think sometimes as children we don't often sit in their shoes or look at things from their perspective, right? I think that's
Hmm.
fair to say, and offer them a certain level of grace, in that they are still trying to figure things out themselves, right?
Right.
And I think that's very fair to be able to say and draw that assessment. But we don't think that way, we don't feel that way, we don't respond or react in that way when when we're children ourselves.
Right. Right.
But you agree with that?
I do agree. And I think everybody's been, I want to say, a victim of that
Mm,
because we all, once we get older, we think in our head, oh, my mom should have done this.
mm-hmm.
My mom should have treated me this way. And we have to really be healed and come to the realization, excuse me, that she really sometimes didn't know any better. Even if your mom had you young,
Yeah,
my mom had me when she was 20 and then she ended up turning 21. She was still young.
yeah,
My mom gave me away. So, they were still young. It was only so much. And then they only loved us from a place that they could love that was available.
mm-hmm.
So we didn't, that's why grandparents tend to make the best parents because they've learned, they've grown. So I think we've all been there to some
Absolutely.
degree.
Absolutely. I posted something on my Facebook page earlier this week that really kind of, in a lot of ways, parallel to what we're talking about tonight. It was, and please forgive me if I misquote it. I just don't have it in front of me at the moment. But you're welcome to go to my Facebook page and see it. It was something to the fact that, and regardless of how we were raised, it's still our responsibility to grow up.
Mhm. Right. Right.
So true. And
And stop that blame game.
okay, and so many levels. Like you
Hmm.
said, my mom, I think, was 16. My father was, I would say, I think 21 or 22, somewhere around in there. So again, if I'm thinking of who I was at 15, 16, right? I think she's 15 when she got pregnant, 16 when she had me. I was certainly not in a position, nor was I ready mentally, physically, or financially to be able to take care of another little person, another.
Right.
I just wasn't.
Right.
Do I think I could have done all of what she did? I really don't know, and I didn't. I never found myself trying to figure out whether I would or how I would. And I think I've shared this before. I never desired to have children
Right.
or kids for lots of different reasons. Right. One in
Mhm.
part is because I did not want to have the I don't want to say burden. I didn't want all the responsibility for myself, right? Regardless of how me and whomever I chose to have this child, I just whether it worked out or it didn't, I didn't want to
Mhm.
shoulder the responsibility just my on myself. So that's my truth.
Right.
Um, but like you said, your mom was 20 years old. Again, that's still very young,
Mhm.
and I feel like a lot of their innocence and a lot of their childhood and a lot of their adolescent development was not I don't want to use the word delay. I would say it was paused in some ways because they weren't allowed to. They had to shift from teen to parent, which in a lot of cases they don't really even understand. I don't think they have the capacity to understand that.
Or they wanted to. They probably just didn't want to.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, no, I was just going to say they probably didn't realize that what they were doing was going to be a result of what actually happened.
Exactly. And I think that is. I know growing up in the South,
Yeah,
I look at the fact that two brown people had a brown baby, but
yeah.
light skinned babies were prettier. So I had to learn that.
Okay.
And so I was that brown baby. And my cousin, who I loved extremely, she was the light skinned baby.
Uh huh.
So everybody wanted the light skinned baby. So, and then I was raised by my great grandmother. So I saw the relationship of my great grandmother and her daughter, which is my grandmother, my mom's mom. And I saw the relationship of my great grandmother and my mom. I saw the relationship between my grandma and my mama. And all of it was tragic.
Oh wow.
So when I grew older, I understood why our relationship was tragic. Now it wasn't it like if we had to pick a mother all over the day, I would still pick my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I would 100% still pick her because some of it she honestly could not help.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw how her mom treated her, I was like, got it. But then there was some things I'm like, no, mama, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at all of that. I believed that she wanted me in a safe place. So when she gave me away the first time to my great grandmother, I was safe. My mom still wanted to party a little bit. I know
Mm-hmm.
that. My mom and my dad was young in the military. All of their friends was having babies, so why not have a baby? So I
Mm-hmm.
take all of that and understanding. I don't knock her. And I grew up with that where you should have done me better. And then I caught on real quick, like, no, she did the best she could with the skills and the love she had available. Yes, my sisters had the same mom, but we had a different mom. The way that she
Mm.
brought us up, she was different, even though
Good
we was
point.
all in the same house.
Right. Good
The
point.
way she loved me, she didn't love Angie. The way she loved Angie, she didn't love Jen, and vice versa. Even when she passed, the way she divvied up her life insurance clearly showed who was first, who was second, who was third. I mean, that's just how she was. She knew which child she had to help more. She knew that. So we all got a different version of our mom in the same house,
Yeah. Yeah.
different years, different versions, and you had to be okay with it. And just like, when I have my talks with my sisters, I'm like, y'all don't understand why I love mom because, yeah, I went through the most hell with her.
Mm-hmm.
However, there was so much I got from her just in the experiences that I did have that y'all would never have and y'all would
Yeah.
never understand. And I used to be jealous because I wonder why my mom loved my sisters more than she loved me.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered why. I went through that old self hate thing. I went through all of that. But then again, you live, you learn, and you forgive because forgiveness is the primary thing. And you learn how to not blame them for
Mm-hmm.
not being the perfect parent to you because there is no perfect parent.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to something you just stated about not wanting to have children, I actually did not want to have children. And I remember praying and I remember making a vow before God. I said, if I, because I didn't want to be like my mom and I didn't want to be like my daddy.
Mm.
My daddy was, I knew he loved me, but out of sight, out of mind.
Okay.
That's just how it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, back then he was a heavy drinker. He was an alcoholic back then. So it was a lot of time missed. Now, am I reaping the benefits of his love? Absolutely. But back then, I didn't understand why this man didn't want me. And then, so, going through all of that with him. But going back to the point of having children, because of the relationship with my dad and how he
Mm-hmm.
treated me, and the way my mom didn't like us when there was a man around.
Mm.
It was a lot. So I remember praying and I told God, I don't want to have children if a man makes me do that to my children.
Mm. I understand.
And so when I was prophesied by the lady that I was armor bearing in church and told me that I was going to have a little girl and
Mm-hmm.
she's going to bring me so much joy, it was hard for me to accept because one, it's not that I didn't like men, I didn't like sex. I don't it was not a thought. So how is this baby going to get here?
Right.
And then knowing that everything I've seen my mama do for love, and you didn't care that your children was at home for days with no food, and I'm there 13 with an 8-year old and a newborn while you're off in Pensacola for weeks at a time.
Mm.
I had to do some mean stuff just to get $20 to feed my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, these are the thoughts that I'm having. Like, why would I want to bring a kid into this world?
Yeah, I get that.
So, it's a lot, but I'm so glad that God found me justifiable enough because I wouldn't trade my baby girl for nothing in the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you say that, and I'm going to share a little bit more about myself. So when I was younger, I was when I was first went to Atlanta to go to college. I was in my early 20s, and I was dating this guy. His name, I ain't gonna say his name. Anyway, almost got me. Anyway, so I was dating this guy, and I was very adamant about whomever I dated, they had to be present in their child's life, right? I just didn't. It was just a thing for me.
Mhm.
Anyway, so he and I were together for just a few years, 2 maybe 3 years. Anyway, within that time frame, there was rumbling between his family and friends that he had a child with some other lady,
Mm.
or some other girl, I should say a girl, because they were both young, maybe 16, 17, same scenario or similar scenarios. And he never found it important enough to figure out whether it was his kid, right? So long
Oh.
story short, right? So we're together now maybe close to 3 years, and he gets a phone call, and I want to say it's either mom or sister, one of them, close family member, says, "Listen, you need to get here and take a DNA test because I really feel like this kid is yours."
Hmm.
So he comes home, he tells me, and I've already had the conversation with him about, what it is I want out of life, where I'm going, so on and so forth, and that I have no interest in being a stepmother. I had a great experience as a kid with my stepmother, but it's just not something that I desire to do.
Right, right.
Right. Very clear, right? Crystal. So he tells me this. And at the time, we had just got new furniture. I picked up the phone. I called them. I told them they need to come get their stuff because I wasn't paying for it. And I explained to him, I never want it to be a situation where you have to choose me over your child.
Right.
So you need to go where you need to go to figure out if that's your kid. What I
Hmm.
can promise you is when you get back, I won't be here.
Wow. Wow.
And I meant that.
I
I
see.
never listen. I don't play that, and
No.
I don't. And I think I know it's because the relationship or lack thereof that I had with my father as a child,
Mhm.
right? And so fast forward, this past weekend was the first weekend, and a lot of you guys don't even know that. The first I celebrated my 50th birthday celebration or anniversary,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
This past weekend. And that is the first time that I ever spent it with my father. Exactly.
How did you
That
feel?
is my truth. Well, so I didn't recognize it until the event started to happening, and I had contacted him, and he assured me that I was coming. That's my cousin right there, Terrell.
Mhm.
So that was the first time in 50 years I ever spent a birthday with him.
Wow.
So because of that, I knew I could never be that woman that's in this man's life that says, "Hey, I chose my wife, my partner, my woman, whoever over my child. It will never be Lakeisha Deshawn Glenn, period."
Got it. I
So and
understand
that's
that.
and that's how I grew up. That's how I lived my life until God saw fit for me to join a different pond.
Listen, because you're swimming right now.
Okay.
You
Can you
are the
say
grandma of the world.
okay? Can you say amen? So that's what it was. So again, for me, it was never a point that I had to hold on 1 second. Come here,
Okay.
baby. This is my other granddaughter. She wasn't able to come with us. Say hi, baby. Oh,
Oh, you.
there
There
we
you
go.
go.
There we go. Oh, I think I messed up the camera. Hold on. It is not. I can't see. I have to fix it. So anyway, that's what it was, and
Hmm.
that's how I am about the men in my life. Hold on. Let me put her down.
I told you, you was grandma. Like them babies wouldn't leave your hip. They followed you like little ducklings the entire weekend.
Okay. All right. There we go. We back in action.
Okay.
All right. So that's just what it is. I don't. I think for me, as you said, when I was younger, I did
Hmm.
have a lot of anger towards him. I even had some anger towards my mom because I felt like at some point, right, for me,
Hmm.
because you know better, you should be doing better, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I have to say, at the end of the day, before she left here, I honestly feel like she did the best she could do with what she had. Period, point blank. And I fought no one else for having or doing the same thing. That's just what it is.
But you know what's so hurtful is that it takes a lot of us so long to get to that place of maturity
Mm-hmm.
because growing up, especially the parent that hurt you the most, you always vow not to be like them. So it's like, oh, it's let somebody say you just like your mama, you just like your daddy. Oh, you ready to fire up and kill everybody in America. But
Right.
then when you get older, you're like, I can appreciate being like my mom
Yeah.
because I used to hate it too. I didn't want to be like her. I didn't want to be like my dad. So for me to get in a child's life and disappear because I'm a true cancer to my heart with ADHD. If you ain't in my face, I have time lapse. I swear up and down. We talked last week, and you be like, we haven't spoken in a year, and I'm like, you lying
Yeah.
because I can pick up a conversation like we just left off, and I have time blindness. And I didn't know that was a real thing until I started, dealing with my ADHD. And I'm like, I swept it down. I talked to them yesterday. It was like, nah, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I understood that out of sight, out of mind thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, it's a lot of forgiveness. And this is one of my books that I haven't written yet. I'm still working out some emotional um, defects. I'm gonna just say
Mm-hmm.
that. But it's called it was originally called the Letters of Forgive. It's called Letters of Forgiveness. And it's to help people write a letter to the person or even to themselves because sometimes we have to realize sometimes you'll never hear I'm sorry, because the way that we receive the hurt, that is not necessarily the way the person gave it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can go back to your parent and say, why did you do this? And they were like, I don't remember that. Or
Exactly.
why did you do this? Well, I wasn't even thinking about it like that.
Yeah.
And whether it's a parent, sister, brother, dog, or cat, the hurt ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, the way they hurt you, it was the way you received it.
Yeah.
They don't even have, they're moved on, they living their best life, and you're still suffering.
Yeah.
You still crying, you still hurt, you can't love again because of what that person did.
Yeah.
And then when you really think about it, it's like, yo, like even when, like if you tell a person, you hurt me, and this is how I felt, or this is how I feel, you have to give them space to say, you know what? Exactly, parents included. If they can't say they're sorry, you have to be okay with them not saying them they're sorry.
Yeah.
Or if they're passed away, you have to be okay with never hearing that.
Yep.
Because what if they really wasn't sorry? Or what if it was a way that we perceived it? Remember you yelled at me because I had on those red shoes? It was like, I wasn't even talking to you that day, but you
Yeah.
done took it, and all my heart, I don't like the color red no more. And that's me. You can say the simplest thing. Why you got on that shirt? Next thing you know, I hate the shirt and I'm gonna go burn it. And you be like, I just asked you why you had on the shirt. But in my
Right.
head, you hated the shirt. You go, I didn't look good in the shirt. The shirt was ugly. I don't went through all of this. So you have to be responsible for the conversation if you're looking for an apology.
Yeah.
And you can't get mad if they can't give you one.
Absolutely. Listen, and so to full circle, how my father got here. Some
Wait, hold
years.
on. Was he at the bowling alley?
Yeah, he was there the whole weekend. I'll send you a picture of him just so
Okay,
you can
because
remember.
you know,
Right. It was so many people
your
there.
wife had us seeing quadruples. I don't
Yeah, she's
remember.
like that on sometimes. But so to full circle, so years, maybe I would say maybe 10, 15 years ago, I reached out to him and just explained to him, again, I'm the oldest of, he has 6 kids. I'm the oldest of, my mom had 2 kids. So I reached out to him and basically just said, hey, your kids, some of them, because let's just say so,
Mhm.
want a better relationship with you, right? And what that looks like is you're going to have to initiate some of those conversations and reaching out to them, because for a good portion of our lives you were absent and or just not involved, right? But like
Mhm.
you said, Jay, earlier, I got a very different version than the sister just under me. I got a
Mhm.
different version from one of my brothers, that's well, all of the rest of them that are under me, and the 3 youngest ones, right? We
Mhm.
all got a different version of our parent, right?
Right.
Same for me, with my mom. I got a different version of her than how she parented my brother, right?
Mhm.
A young boy. So as a parent now, I can see and have a better understanding, but as a child it didn't, for me, make a connection, or didn't make it right, right?
Right.
As a child, in my
Mhm.
mind, there were certain expectations even then, right? Even
Right.
children have expectations of their parents and what they should and shouldn't be doing,
Right.
right?
But
But
that's
again, that's
wrong
through a
though.
child's lens. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, so essentially, I just basically had a conversation with him, and I asked him to show up in a different way and what that would look like. I literally explained, you're going to have to call, you're going to have to show up, you're going to have to, these kinds of things. And he's done a lot better, right? Our
That's
relationship
awesome.
is not perfect. I called him simply, and I asked him, he said, sure. So he and his wife came over from New York and they spent the entire weekend with us. And I was grateful for that, right? Again, that
Mhm.
was the first of 50 years,
Wow.
right? I don't know. I think I spent one birthday. Yeah, I did, when he right before he got married. And that was 2 years ago. I spent a birthday with him on his birthday. But I say that to say we all, even as adults, and as we're going from teens to young adults, we have to kind of look at things from another person's perspective and kind of offer them a certain level of grace and understanding
Mm-hmm.
in that they are doing the best that they can.
Right.
Now, does that mean that you can't have honest, upfront conversations with them? Absolutely.
Because sometimes they need to hear that though.
Absolutely.
Because then you could tell them, like you made a great statement. This is how I need you to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't need you to show up for the 5-year-old me. I don't need you to show up for the 10-year-old me. I need
Yeah.
you to show up for the 46-year-old me.
Yeah.
And when I had that hard conversation with my dad, I was like 30. And
Mm.
it started from me. I had to cuss his ass out. That's just pretty much what
Ooh.
happened. He he was there, but he inboxed me and he was like, "Hey, um, tell Angie I'm looking for her. It's my middle sister."
Mm-hmm.
And something triggered in me.
Mm.
I said, "Don't you ever," and bleep, 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 reach out to me without even saying, "How are you doing?" And I just let it rip.
Yeah.
And he took it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't, and he said, he apologized. And he was like, he didn't ask because he know I'm always okay. Like, I'm not. Like, you don't
Yeah.
even bother to ask. So I had to show him how to show up for me.
Yeah.
But then there was one time he did show up for me, and it pricked the little girl in me
Yeah.
when I was in the hospital. And I was dealing with my little situation, and I'm in that hospital, and he showed up, drove all the way. And I said, "Why?" I said, "What made you?" He was like, "I'm your daddy. Why wouldn't I come?" Girl, everything in me melted. I was like, "Oh God, this
Okay.
man love me." And it made me, and it healed a part of me that I
Yeah.
didn't even know was still hurting.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I mean, even when he walked me down the aisle, that was a pivotal moment. So, what I'm saying is, if you do give someone grace,
Mm-hmm.
give them the opportunity to show up the way that they can. And I'm not saying you have to accept it, but I accepted it. And there's places where you could accept it to
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what? And you will feel a breaking on the inside because it made, even though I had on a tuxedo, he had on a tuxedo, it still made me feel like little girl joy,
Yeah. The little joy.
the little joy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I forgot that I was just a girl too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before anybody jump on that, no, nobody think they're a man or nothing like that. You grow up and you learn to cope and you pad feelings and emotions that you never deal with, but you don't know a situation that could bring out that little girl in you or
Yeah.
that little boy in you.
Yeah. So true. That's some good stuff. Listen, we almost 30 minutes in. We didn't even
Oh
show the
man, this
video,
has been
man.
so good. You gonna have me crying later.
Listen, no, we gonna hold back the tears, but listen, we want to. I'm gonna set up the video.
Okay.
The young lady in the video, I follow her on TikTok and Instagram. Very very powerful message. We want to share this with you and get your feedback. So leave us a comment on what it is that you liked, loved about not only the show, right, our conversation, but her conversation as well. I'll go ahead and play it now.
In adulthood, many times we can re-injure ourselves because we keep going to our parents expecting them to be what they never became. Now, this would be a different conversation if you said they went to therapy, they've been doing the work, they've been working on, that's a whole different conversation. But if these are parents who have not put in the work to heal themselves, I can't keep expecting you to be something you never were. So if you want to have a relationship with her, you can, first of all, you can. But it's not going to be the relationship that you've created in your mind is the one you thought you wanted or needed. So a part of your healing is you have to reparent and become the parent that the little girl needed. And you now advocate for what she needs and what's okay. So your lack of safety with that parent is heavily dependent upon, one, releasing the expectation of more, putting boundaries in place so that they only are getting access to what they can handle. I wouldn't give my car keys to a toddler. So if I know I have a parent who is emotionally immature, it's not safe for me to give them more of me than what they can handle. That's where the insafety comes from.
Wow,
Man,
that was
that was
good.
just beautiful.
That was.
I love how she explained that.
Oh man.
I love it. I love it. She the my favorite part about it is, and this can apply to friendships,
Hmm.
marriages, relationships you have with your children. You know, we have adult children, so for me, that's a reference. But only give them what the amount that they can allow, that they are allowed to handle.
It's like an
That's all I
allowance.
can give them, right?
Yeah.
I had, and I shared with you earlier, Jay, that my wife and I had this similar conversation with our kids, and with one of our kids, she's an adult, and she's having kids, and we explained that it's more to parenting than just having kids, right?
Right.
Most people can have kids, right? They have the equipment, right, and they have the tools, right? You can have them, but
Right.
you have to actually teach them and nurture them, and
Hmm.
and give them guidance and values, and nurture the things that they show interest. It's so much more to parenting than just having a kid and feeding them on occasions.
But who
There's
showed
other
them that?
things.
You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
Right.
And it's I just don't want young adults or young kids to have the impression that I'm having this baby because I want somebody to love me, right?
Hmm.
Or two, I love this guy so much and this is the only way I can keep him, or this girl, I got a trap, or what. That is not the right mindset to have to bring another person into this world. It's just
Right.
not. That's not the
It's
move.
not. But also, as the child, adult or not, and especially these millennials, God, they everything hurt their feelings. But especially the millennial generation on up or down. Um, I think not that I think is the difficulty is like you said, you gave space to what that person can handle, but you also again going back to that level of grace of saying, okay, you have to find the love in what that parent was able to do.
Hmm.
You had some fathers that may have never hugged you, may have never said they love you, but they made sure you ate and they provided the best way they can. And that's their way of saying, I love you. Now, if they throw up in your face, I kept food on your plate, that's your job. But understand their love language. It was actually an Asian lady on TikTok. She said it wasn't until she got older she realized how her mom showed them love. She said, I never noticed that my mom never said I love you. And she was an older Chinese lady.
Hmm.
Never said I love you. She said, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, she's up fixing everybody food and doing this and packing their lunch and making sure that, and she said it wasn't until she got older she realized that's how she said I love you.
Mm.
And so, even in relationships, I think we talked about this before. My love
Hmm.
language, the way I speak love is through gifts. And, every now and again, a little acts of service, and I could say some nice things. But then with my wife, she needed to hear it. She needed the affirmation. She needed the touch.
Hmm.
So when I would, like when we bought this house, I'm thinking I'm doing a great thing. I got you a house. You walked in, you loved it from minute one. I bought you this house. But then when she would get upset or something, well, I ain't asked you for the house. And that would just destroy me. But then she learned that was my love language. That's the way I showed you love. So
Hmm.
then she stopped beating me up over stuff like that. She realized that, and I had to realize the way that she showed love. So when you look at your parents and
Mm.
even your children, they're different people too.
Yeah, they
The
are.
Bible tells us to train them in the way they should go. Train doesn't always mean raising, because if you raise them, typically you raise them in the way that you were raised, whether you got
So
beaten with
true.
a switch, whether you was forced to eat, whether you hated mushrooms. You raise your child to do that. versus you train them and allow them to exist, allow them to become, and you just make sure as a parent, I guide you through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to ask for that because I was like, oh, my child gonna get her ass whooped every 5 minutes, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I still feel she needs it, but I have to, but it was one thing I said to her. She told me that I hurt her heart. Something I
Ooh.
said, and she said, and I think she was like 3. She said, "You hurt my heart." And I said, "Girl,
Ooh.
go on somewhere." And I just blew it up. And Shay said, "Did you
Yeah.
hear what she said?" And I said, "What did you say?" Because back then we couldn't say nothing. You better
Yeah.
go depress them dishes. No, we didn't have an outlet.
Right.
You
You'll be
know,
all right.
you couldn't, yeah, you'll be all right. You were sitting there like, no, like literally, I'm hurting. You ain't gonna die, you know. So I had to listen to her and I said, I apologize. I am so sorry that I hurt your heart. And
Yeah.
Mama Joe would never do that again. And I think because I yelled at her, but her response was, I hurt her heart. And I had to learn to listen.
Yeah.
I had to learn not to be the parent I thought was right for her.
Yeah.
I know it's some things I can be a little bit more strong on, but I had to learn.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to let her be and not force her to be what I want her to be, even though I'm still gonna push her to which way I want her to go. But I still have to be okay with who she will be because that's how a lot of parents got disappointed in us.
Yeah.
And I feel that people who got on drugs couldn't cope with the pressure and with the stress. I was like that in school. I didn't feel like I lived up to that standard. Even though I was doing exceptionally well, I never heard her say good job
Mm-hmm.
enough to make me stop doing more and more and more. I never heard her say, that's good enough. So I kept doing more. If I would buy her the shoes, I would have the outfit, the hat, everything, because I didn't know it was enough. And I didn't realize that till I got older. Like, enough is okay.
Yeah.
Even when she passed, I still, and it was through counseling that I had to deal with because that was one of my biggest questions. Like, was it good enough? Was your funeral good enough? Like, she gonna wake up and tell me,
Right.
did you feel loved enough in your ceremony?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that struggle goes
Wow.
alone.
Yeah. That's deep.
So as a parent, you want to make sure that you're not setting expectations or putting on your child the unrealistic expectations of what you wanted to be when you grew up, because you still got time to go be what you want to be when you grow
Yep.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't even, or just allowing them to be. Okay, that is good enough. You know what? If my
Mm-hmm.
baby want to sit here and have an art gallery, I'm okay with that. I want her to have a white coat. I want to put the white coat on her, but that's my dream.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what about that? Because you touched on something like that was very profound, and I think oftentimes parents, while they're in it, they don't see how
Right.
much that they're trying to drive and influence their children into becoming or being what they see for them, and not
Mhm.
allowing them to be who they would like to be and exist in the way that they want to exist.
That's so damaging because
Yes.
it's because and I said this multiple times. I know I'm not shamelessly plugging, but that was the reason why I wrote that book. When I will grow up, I want to be just like me because the real you wasn't made to be enough because you should be a doctor. Why? Because a doctor is this is what a doctor represents. But what if I just want to be a florist?
Mm,
Was that too low of a standard? No, you're not pushed that direction. You push towards this direction. You're visually given everything necessary to be what you don't want to be, but what they feel is appropriate for you growing up, for you being an
mm-hmm.
adult. You never know what you truly want. And then when you get an adult, you're like, I don't even really like this.
Right.
Some people do, don't get me wrong. So, like, if you had that parent that saw you did exceptionally well in gymnastics and they pushed you, and that's what you wanted to be, but you was able to show them that that's something that you were interested in. But what about us that was forced to do something? We was growing up. It was only a couple of little jobs that you were supposed to have, or you go into the military, or it was only like 3 options you had in life. So When I grew up, I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't have an identity. I had so many things I liked, but I was never told to venture out and go do it.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to college, nobody said go to college to learn life and have fun, but while you're there, pick up a study.
No, I
We
definitely
as
did that.
Yeah, I didn't. Black kids, most black kids, you go to college to go to school. You have to learn get a degree. White kids, they're allowed that freedom
I agree
to
with that.
live life
To some, yeah,
because yeah, to some degree, they go there to have fun.
yeah,
Let us go there to have fun. Our parents is gonna knock us out. I ain't got time, I ain't got money for this.
yep.
They parents know this is the opportunity where I want you to be safe, but I want you to get it all out because when you come out, this is where you need to be at.
You gotta
So
adult.
what if we change that conversation for our children
Yeah,
and let them just be? And I
yeah,
could train you in the area of life, the way you should go. You should be good to people. You should do this. You should do that. That is my job. My job is not to make you into something that you're not.
mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
then when you get so old, then you're like, you know what? I'm finally happy with myself. And I can't see, I don't want to be like Oprah. I don't want to be like this person. I really love being Joy.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine if we would have had that when we were in middle school.
Yeah,
Because middle school, everybody went through that ugly stage. You didn't know what you look like from day one.
yeah.
You
Permission,
talking
really.
about, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
middle school was
The
hard.
permission to be who we desire and to be able to fulfill the things that we have within us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like if your dad told you, you just go to work, you go to work. I've been here 20 years. That worked for you.
Yeah.
You can't get mad that that doesn't work for me.
Right.
Who was that? That was on the Temptations when he wanted him to go work. And he was
Uh-huh.
like, I want to do music. He came
Yeah.
in up with a Tony. His
Yeah.
daddy was
You're right.
mad.
Yeah.
But just imagine if they were okay. I mean, and I get it because each generation had their own struggle.
Yeah. I
You
think it
had,
was fear.
yeah. And it was like, well, in my growing up, I was a slave because, I have great grandparents that were slaves.
Uh-huh.
You know, they were slaves. So when the furthest they can get was sixth grade education, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, hey, I'm going to do all what I can to make sure you go past sixth grade. No, you're going to come to work. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So then the next generation had that same mindset, but maybe just a little bit further.
Yeah.
And then so now we're here getting multiple degrees. Just our parents would have never thought about that.
Yeah.
But then we're setting it for the next one saying, hey, I've set the expectation. You could pick in between, but you need to
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah. Okay. Emphasis on something.
It's something. You ain't got to do what I
Absolutely.
do, but you better do something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My goal or my thought process with each one of the kids is just uh whatever that was for you, right? And it's not for me to say what you should be. I would just say figure out what that is. You've had 12 years of education, right? From grade school all the way up. You've now graduated. For those 12 years, you should have been thinking about, and I know I've
Something.
asked you many times, multiple times, what it is that you want to do, what it is, how you see yourself living and taking care of yourself. What is that job? What does that role look like?
Right.
And will it fit your lifestyle, right? Can you maintain the life that you see for yourself as a line cook if
Mhm.
that's what you choose to do?
Come
If you
on,
can't,
Fries.
then you got to figure something out, because what if that's not going to work? Then I, I can only tell you what's worked for me, but that
Right.
was my path. Again, like you said, that may not work for you, but what you can't do is nothing. You can't not do
Man,
nothing. You got to
nothing.
figure that out.
Right.
And so luckily most of them and there's they've shifted and turned a couple times, but most of them have figured out the direction in which they want to go. Has it been automatic? Absolutely not. And my wife and some other friends, we talk about, eh, like, I don't understand how you spent 12 years of school. You don't know what you want to do. Even have a clue. Like
You
if you had a
supposed to be a
clue,
doctor by now.
Yeah, if you had a clue which direction, at least you could go that way. But
Right.
you have nothing. Like, what were you doing?
But
Like, that makes no sense to me.
but then we also have to look at the influences that they have because they're told and showed that, oh, you can make $1 million on YouTube. Was okay. You can, but you have to be honest with that kid. You have no personality for YouTube, so I'm gonna need you to find something else.
Right.
You
Yeah.
might need to make music.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you said, you have to figure something out. But it's just like that whole idea while you was talking this whole thing about, get out when they're 18. And I know a lot of people talking about we should normalize children not getting out at 18. The reason why that was strong for me is because when I left home at 15, but the reason why it was strong for me is because back then we was a little bit more prepared
I
to
would
be
agree with
out
that.
by 18.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so it's like when we was in high school, I know for me, driver's ed was a grade. It wasn't an elective. You knew how to cook, you knew how to job interview, you knew how to do all of this stuff.
Mhm.
So getting out at 18 wasn't a hard thing. And nobody just woke up in the morning and said, get out. It was you're at an age now to where at 16, you was already, if you was going to college, you already knew which way you was going.
Yeah.
Because we graduated when we were 16. These kids graduated when they 21. I don't understand. Why are you still there? Now that part I don't understand. Because I'm like, we was out at 16 going into 17. Or right out as, right when you turn 16, you're out of school. Why are you 21 talking about no child left behind? No, you got left behind. And I mean, oh, me and my wife used to go at this one because I didn't understand. Like, you graduating, that's not the epitome of your life. That's your
Right.
obligation.
Right.
I'm
Right.
gonna celebrate you, but that's your
Sure.
obligation.
Yeah.
I don't, what else is there? The epitome is when you walking across that stage and you got on your honor cords and you got all these awards. Now you coming out on top,
Okay.
but you graduating ain't. No, I'm just so glad they made it. No, I'm not. They supposed to have. I don't understand that, and I still stand by that.
Yeah. I
What else
agree
you was
with
gonna
that.
do?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Well, I think their thought process was that it's you can either graduate or you get a GED. Which, and for me, I don't know why that would be an
Option.
alternative. I don't.
Mm-mm,
Right. That's if we're taking care
mm-mm.
of things at home and we're providing for you. I don't understand how you can't do your part, and your
Your
part
part is to be
being
the best student you can.
right. Get up, go to school, eat that crappy food, whatever you got to do. Come back home, do your chores, and you can go back outside. It's not that hard.
It
Trust me.
really isn't.
Trust me.
Now, granted, let's take. Now, I will say, now, granted, they can go to school and get shot at any second. Now, we ain't really have that. The
That,
worst we had was that end of the year fight.
yeah.
And if you fought a person in your ninth grade year, you was good all the way up to the 12, long as you won or
Yeah.
defended yourself. You was good to go. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that. But these kids are on prom, got Rolls Royces, custom made gowns, and ain't passed. I don't understand why I'm celebrating you that hard.
Mm-mm.
You go all out for their prom, and they ain't got nowhere to go after 12th grade.
Nope. Ain't doing that.
Yeah, uh-uh.
Mm-mm.
Like
But again,
again, I want you to be celebrated, but
absolutely.
but if you're a dumb kid, you ain't getting celebrated the way you feel. If you're a dumb kid, absolutely not. Why am I celebrating your dumbness
There's no reason to.
when you can reprogram my whole house, but yet still you get to school and act dumb? Absolutely not. Now, if you got a disability, we're gonna deal with that. If you got a little shortcoming, I'm gonna be there with you. But if you just dumb because you want to be, don't ask me for nothing. I'm gonna be dumb too.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know. What I do know is that as a result of I don't want to say deficiencies from our parents. I'll say challenges,
Mm-hmm.
right? The challenges that they had drove us, I'll speak for myself, drove me to co-parent differently,
Yeah.
right? It was because I didn't want those kids or kids whose lives I was a part of to repeat what I saw before me.
Right.
And I made sure that I did not repeat what I saw before me, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever that is.
Right.
Again, and our kids could say, well, you guys could have did this, that's their prerogative,
Mm-hmm.
that's their experience. What I can say for myself and my wife, for the last 10, 11 years that we've been together, we've done the best that we can do.
And you
Eh,
got to count. There's too many of y'all. Let's be
yeah,
real.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
don't, if it's more than two, don't tell me what I could have did.
yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely not. It's barely, you barely surviving with $100,000 salary.
yeah, true. That is so true.
No, you glad that you listen. It's hey,
Right.
go
Here's my thought. Well, if you can do better, then go ahead.
ahead, knock yourself right on out.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
group
I
homes ain't
challenge
never drop
you.
nobody.
There you go. I push you to do better than what I did. And for the most part, I think that they should, right? So if for whatever reason, this is another one. They always feel, well, you guys are too tough, or you guys are too too strict. No, it's just that the other parents that y'all dumb friends, they don't
Right,
care. Okay. And they don't have the same level of responsibilities. Chances are, for me, in my case, our kids went to a predominantly white school.
mm,
They don't have the same challenges that you're going to have. They're not having the same conversations that you
right.
and I are having. It's just not in reality.
And
That's
that's
just
the
what it
truth
is.
of the matter. And
Yeah.
if you don't want your mama to go to jail,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be strict. And
Right.
sometimes, and now some parents try to do a blanket strictness, but then when you know your kid, you know it's a certain level.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, my mama thought that she had to check me when it came around boys, but I should have been your last. You should have called her real quick, Penny, that I
Yeah.
wasn't the one.
Yeah.
Because I remember one day she followed me in her car. I didn't even know where she was behind me. I'm walking to the store and I'm going up there to get candy and cookies. You know, they have little penny cookies and stuff. I'm going to the store for that. She thinking I'm going to go meet a boy. And I come out the store with a brown bag of the penny cookies. I'm like, I'm getting fat. I ain't nobody studying no boy. But the one you should have been worried about, you so busy chasing me.
Listen.
She the one gave you them millions of grandkids. So I ain't come home with none. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like parents made mistakes. I get it.
for sure.
But every child got police based off of them too. It's like, listen, I can be hard on you. And typically those firstborns, we was either too scared to speak our piece, or I think we was the best of the group.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the last ones now. You got to jump on them. Like, okay.
Man. Listen, I tell my wife all the time. So even before I got there, the oldest one was just here a few minutes ago. That was her daughter.
Mhm.
I hadn't seen in a couple months. But so it's 7 kids, right? For her to be able to do it by herself, she should be smoking. So
I mean, smoking all kind of cigarettes.
she should be running the walls, like. But for the most part, and for the last couple of years, she's been very honest, with the work that she's been doing on herself, and letting the kids, or sharing with the kids, that no, she made a lot of mistakes. She wasn't necessarily the best mom, but she was a young mom, and she was doing the best that she could do with what she
Right.
had. And I feel wholeheartedly that most of them honestly feel and understand where she was, when she had them, what state of mind she was in, and that they can give her credit to that, in terms of she was doing the best that she could do, based off of their family lineage, in terms of how she was parented, or lack thereof, and so on and so forth. So, and we always encourage them, listen, we just want you to do better than what your experience was with us. If you feel as though we dropped the ball, or whatever that is, then you have the opportunity to do better. Just don't do what we did if it didn't work.
And be glad that a parent is willing to come and say, I can own that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
how many of us ain't never gonna get that? Like they'll
Yeah.
never own. I
Yeah.
cannot
They
go to
still
my
waiting.
great I cannot go to my grandma now and say and bring up how mean you was, how you did this, And she'd be sitting there looking at me like, what do you
Yeah.
want me to do? So it's like to have someone to come back and say, you know what? I own that. I apologize for that. Or I own it and I'm not apologizing for it because I meant it.
Yeah.
At least they can be honest with you. And like you said, if you can do better, go do better. Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. Nobody's a perfect sister, perfect brother, perfect. And I'm pretty sure even as children, we gave our parents some level of hell.
Oh
I know
yeah.
my mouth was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
I would say whatever I felt. And then when I especially was on my own, oh man, you can get it all. I had no respect. I still don't. The respect the person was out the window because I could be Captain Obvious too. Because my
Yeah.
mama used to be me, and I'd be like, "Well, there your crackhead husband walking down the street." I remember saying that. Oh, I can't come to your house, but then your crackhead husband, hey Tim, got your TV on your shoulder, and she was like, "Get out my house." Okay, I can get out now. I don't care. So I knew how I was, and I wasn't the best kid. I ain't bringing no
Yeah.
grandkids though, but I wasn't the best one.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I was determined not to have nobody kid at no 15, 16, 17. I ain't even want them anyway.
Like, right, my
They ain't had
legs
to worry
wasn't
about that.
moving. Mm-mm. It was just a thought. Like, what my legs supposed to do? No, I'm good. I fell off balance. I can't do that.
Oh man, listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed this
This is
conversation.
really good.
And again, we are understanding that Mother's Day is coming up. My mother is no longer here. Like you said, Jay, we can still celebrate them if they are not here.
Mhm.
Or if you still have mother figures that are in your life still, then this would be the time of year to, of course, to celebrate them and acknowledge them for the things that they've done and how they've contributed to your life if you are a mother or in that role, right? So, and this, to be honest with you, sometimes I don't even consider myself a mother or stepmother. I just don't. The kids call me Keisha, the grandkids call me Gma. I really do not. I'm just helping my wife. That's it.
No, because them
Don't give me that
grandbabies yours.
responsibility.
Them grandbabies are yours. I swear up and down. Wait, especially was Kyrie.
Yeah,
Kyrie ain't
Kyrie
let
and
you breathe.
Kyrie. Yeah,
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 he did not let you breathe. I was like,
yeah,
wait a minute.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think he paid attention to BJ. He was like, all right. Them are your babies.
For sure, for sure, for sure. All right. So, anything else you want to pass along for before we
Just
let
want
go
to say
for Mother's
happy
Day?
Mother's Day. We're not gonna do that arguing like from some people talking about, oh, you can't be a mother because of this. If you mothered a child, that's nurture,
Yeah.
raise, provided for in any capacity. Happy Mother's Day. And for those who cannot celebrate their parent or their mother in the flesh, sit back and enjoy every good memory you had with them and do your best to let go. Because it ain't gonna do nothing but kill you anyway. And when you turn on that switch and start remembering the good, I promise you, all of those old thoughts will just disappear. And that's the beauty of forgiveness, the
Hmm.
willingness to forget. And I feel, because when we grow up, we hold so much to the hurt that we forgot that it was so much good.
Yeah.
You forgot the smiles. You
Yeah.
forgot the sacrifice. You forget all of that. But then when you sit and think like, no, my mama, she was a good gal. And she was pretty.
Hmm.
She had her thing. And I loved it. And I loved her for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. We can enjoy life. And
Look, we can't go back and get a do-over.
and no, now if we did, I'd probably come back in like 76. Because I want a little bit more the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love to
I
get
just
pregnant
want
early.
listen, I just want somebody else to take care of these bills.
Listen, now if I could extend, now I've been paying bills for a minute, so
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
about
need
the
no
only thing.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take a curfew. I don't mind. I'll be sleep anyway.
I ain't want, but you know what? I ain't right, and I'm like, I ain't want to go nowhere, so it wasn't. I didn't even care about no curfew. I was home. I'm like, I
Man,
ain't going out there. It's
okay.
too cold. It's too hot. I don't feel like it.
Listen, Those were the days, though.
Man.
Well, listen, you guys keep a regal mindset. Again, happy Mother's Day, and we will see you guys on next week.
Next week.
Please like, click, and share.